Hi Reader Pops, welcome to another video, another reading diaries, cozy reading vlog. I am so excited for the books that we're about to read because I just posted how many 5-star books can I find in this video, and I made that video because April, for some reason, every single author just releases their new books, and they're authors that I've read like 4+ times, so the likelihood of them being a 5-star is really high because they are, like I said, my favorite authors. And there's so many new releases that I didn't even get to all of them in that one video. I read 4 books in that video. One of them was part of a fantasy series, so it was not a new release, which leaves us with tons of books to still read. So I'm gonna do some of that in this video. And I'm standing because I'm gonna show you all the books on my TBR that I potentially want to get to in this video. So currently the book I'm reading right now is Summer in the City by Alex Astor. I've been so excited to read this because I've been making my way through her young adult fantasy series and I've been absolutely loving it. And just this March, she released her first adult romance book. And I think it's really cool to see an author publish in a different genre while writing a fantasy series. This book is set in New York City. It's actually a billionaire romance, which I don't think I've ever read that. I think I tried to read one by Lauren Asher and I didn't like it that much, but I know she lives in New York City, and I saw a video she did on her Instagram where she did a cover reveal for this book by creating a huge version of her book and setting it in New York City, and honestly, that alone sold me, so I had to read it. I'm actually probably going to finish it right now because I'm 245 pages in and it looks like there's probably 300 pages. So yeah, we have that. And then if you look at my TBR shelf up here, I'm most likely going to read The Love Haters by Catherine Center in this video because Book of the Month sent me this book early because I don't think it comes out until like May 20th or something, and it's April 29th right now. And I love Catherine Center. She probably rivals the amount of books that I've read with Emily Henry and Vari McFarlane. I've read 10 Vari McFarlane books. That's probably the most from any author with standalone books. Like, it's not a series. Every single one of those was just by themselves. Emily Henry, I've read 6 books by Emily Henry. Catherine Center, I've read The Bodyguard, Hello Stranger, The Rom-Commers, Happiness for Beginners, What You Wish For, How to Walk Away. I think I've also read 6 books by Catherine Center, so this would be my 7th. So she is definitely one of my favorite authors. I also got The Conditions of Will by Jessa Hastings, which my relationship to the Magnolia Park series is a very complicated one because I had a very visceral reaction to the first book because I don't think I understood the concept of a toxic romance, so the whole time I was like, literally, what is this? It's not a romance book. But I kept reading the series. I think I'm 4 books into it and there's only 5 out. And it just feels like watching a reality television show, and I do really like her metaphors. So this wasn't at like the top of my anticipated reads, but everyone that I've been watching who also has mixed opinions on Magnolia Parks really likes this book. So that's really exciting. I also watched some interviews that she did, and her writing process is super fascinating. The way that she views writing in the publishing world is really cool. I feel like she's really breaking ground with like what the norm has been, and even like covers for romance books, which I think is really cool. And I think she said this is about a healthy relationship, not a toxic one. And it's a standalone. So the text is huge. This is fun. It also has deckled edges. Is that what it's called? I haven't seen a new published book with edges like this in so long, and especially not in romance. Like, the only books that I own that have these are like my non-fiction C.S. Lewis books. There's also Sunrise on the Reaping by Suzanne Collins, which I definitely need and want to read. One of my friends just read this and she was talking about how cool it is to read a new book from the series that you loved in middle school as a 24-year-old. And apparently you see a bunch of characters in their 20s, like Effie as a 19-year-old, which is just sounds so interesting. But I've heard it's really sad, so I'm kind of nervous about that. Okay, and last 2 I'll talk about. This is not a new release, but I bought Quicksilver by Callie Hart because this was a very famous TikTok fantasy romance that was going around, and it's so thick, so I feel like this could be a Kindle read. But I'm just in my fantasy romance era, so oh my gosh, that scared the actual crap out of me. And then Gifted and Talented by Olivia Blake. I was obsessed with Olivia Blake for a while. I absolutely love her writing style sometimes, and other times I'm like, what is going on here? Sometimes she gets a little bit too in the weeds because I loved The Atlas 6 so much. That was one of my first ever like 6-star reads. It was also the first year that I'd ever read books. And then the second book got a little bit more convoluted, but I still liked it. And the third book I tried to pick up and I literally was like, I'm reading a science textbook. I don't know what is going on here. So now I have a mixed relationship approaching her books because I don't know what to expect, but I feel like I'm gonna like this one. So this is our stack of potential reads for this video. It's gonna be an exciting one, but let's first finish Summer in the City. Okay, I just finished it and it was really cute. I definitely think this is more of like a palate cleanser romance book. It was pretty fast paced in terms of the characters' emotions, if that makes sense. Like it wasn't this deep drawn out thing. It felt a little bit more surface level, and they just did a bunch of things together, and the things are told to us very quickly. And those are never like my favorite types of romance books because I like really character driven, deep character work type of things like Emily Henry does. So I feel like she thrives in fantasy of like the plot and how built out her worlds are. This one, it was kind of giving like just quick, fast paced escapism. But yeah, I read it quickly. It was fun. I like the New York City setting. I like that she's a screenwriter in it. I think I would give this 3 stars. My chicken nuggets are ready, 1 second. I didn't mean for you to see this, but I was just about to pick out a new book, and for some reason, Conditions of Will is really sticking out to me. So I'm gonna just, you know, read the first few chapters, as I like to say, which never is only the first few chapters, if it's good. So we'll see if I'm in the mood for it. Okay, it's the next day, and I did in fact read a chapter of both The Conditions of Will and Sunrise on the Reaping. I think at that point in time yesterday, I felt like I had brain fog because none of the words were making any sense to me. Because then I also picked up Catherine Center's new book because I always know that her sentences are short. She's very dialogue heavy, so they're super fast to read, and even this one was not making sense to me, so I just stopped reading. And then later that night, I continued this book and the words were making sense again. I was like, oh yes, this is what reading feels like. My brain is still normal. And it was so good. I read like 30 pages before bed. It was flying by. I wanted to stay up. And now I'm on page 59 and I'm really excited to get back into it. The premise right off the bat is super interesting. I don't even know if I'll be able to explain it, but I think this is what I think is happening. We're following a woman named Katie who works at a company that makes commercial/documentaries, and 50% of them are about to be laid off. And one of her other coworkers, who is higher up, is trying to help her by giving her this job, but the only problem is that this job is about the Coast Guard, and she's gonna have to get training to be in a helicopter over the ocean, and if the helicopter will drop into the ocean, she needs to do a simulator, and she, first of all, does not know how to swim and also hates being in a bathing suit because she struggles with body image. So I will say that is probably a large trigger warning because we're only 60 pages in, and it's very much about that. Like, she goes through all of the thoughts that she would have in detail, and obviously we're at the part of the book where the character is still struggling, so I'm hoping that we'll see like a really cool character arc of her feeling freedom in that, but it could be something that's triggering regardless. This plot's actually so difficult to explain. It feels like I'm spoiling a bunch of stuff, but you literally find this all out within like 10 pages. I won't explain any further. That's all you need to know, really. So she just flew to Key West where they're doing the video, and she's conquering her fear right now of wearing a bathing suit in public, which I've never read in a book before, and I feel like it's a super, super, super common thing to struggle with, and I feel like because it's so common, it can be scary to write about it. If anyone, Catherine Center will do a great job with it. She always writes difficult topics in really beautiful ways, and I always feel so much hope. I always compare her to Bob Goff because he's in a completely different genre. He's like Christian nonfiction, but the language is so whimsical and hopeful and just sweet. So I'm really excited to be reading this one right now. Okay, last we spoke, I was just starting this book, and now it's been a few days later. I went on a bachelorette trip, which you can see on my Instagram if you want, but I finished this book, then I also read this book, and now I'm halfway through a book on my Kindle. So let's just talk about these books for a second. First of all, The Love Haters by Catherine Center, book of the month, as you can see. Who is sponsoring this video? Thank you, book of the month. You guys know that I love them. I work with them all the time, and they are a monthly book subscription service that has a team of voracious readers who is trying to find the best books for us book of the month subscribers to be reading. So most of the first time authors that I've ever read, it's because of book of the month, because I just trust them. And it's so fun because a new hardcover book can come to your doorstep every single month, or if you want to skip, you can for free. So this month, not only did I choose The Love Haters, of course, because they are who led me to Catherine Center in the first place. The Bodyguard is the first book I ever read by her, and now this is my 7th one by her. So I literally find my new favorite authors from book of the month. So I've never heard of this author, Danny Francis. It has sprayed edges. That is so cool. The main character's name is Ren, and I don't know why, but that's one of my favorite names. This is a dystopian romance, which some people are calling a new genre altogether, dystomance, and I don't know why. I just have this very good feeling that dystopian's coming back, so I wanted to give this one a try. This cute little blue box also always comes with a bookmark, and this month you can actually sign up with the code BOUQUET and get your first hardcover book for $5 plus a free hat, which is a great deal. So I will leave my link in the description if you want to go and sign up for that. Thank you to Book of the Month for sponsoring this video. Now on to my review of this book. I loved it so much I actually miss it after reading it, which is a really great sign. I loved the setting of this, and I loved his job being in the Coast Guard. I don't think I've I know for sure I've never read that in a book before. It also made me realize that it's really underrated for the main male character's job to really be part of his personality, and not like in a toxic way, but it just makes so much sense that this guy who's kind of a man of few words shows it through his actions, and so he likes to rescue people that he doesn't know, which requires a lot of skill and patience and empathy, but not a lot of talking. So I feel like it all just works together with his character very well. And I already did talk about the body image subplot that the character struggles with, but there was another aspect of like getting a mean comment online, and I really liked how the character dealt with that and how Hutch helped her deal with that. And overall, it was just everything that I love about summer reads and romances. There's no spice, the dialogue is witty and fast, and the things that were going on in the book were like actually romantic, like him noticing her eye color and these special quirks that she had about herself and he notices on day one in comparison to other people in her life who just don't ever see her that way. Things that actually just make you swoon in a book. She delivered in this one. I'm giving it 4.5 stars, which is such a high rating, but at the end, I was so shocked. And sometimes Catherine Center will do this. Sometimes she will do something so out of pocket for a romance book that you do not expect the author to dive into, and I was like, surely this is just going to be a few more pages, but no, it kept going and going, and my heart was racing. Like I stayed up late to finish this book because I could not let this character be going through something without knowing if she was okay. It gave me like genuine, not terror, it's probably too dramatic, but the suspense was very, very, very real, a little too real. And for that, I was kind of hoping we would rather just focus on the romance instead of that crazy plot that happened. But I liked the whole thing overall so much, and I've still thought about the characters ever since. So definitely 4.5 stars. Definitely recommend it for your summer read this year. I love her. She just never misses. It's so great. And then this is also from Book of the Month, which just happens to be a coincidence because I'd wanted to read this before I even knew that Book of the Month was publishing it as well. But that is You Between the Lines by Katie Naiman. This is about two writers who enter this MFA program, but they knew each other from high school, and something happened where they're not talking anymore. So this book just has almost all of my favorite tropes. I love when they're both writers. I love when there's a history aspect to it, their personal history, not like world history. And I also love how it's kind of written more in a literary fiction fashion. She is specifically doing poetry and he's just doing fiction. So you get to read a lot of poems, which made me realize that I do not understand poetry very much, although spoken word poetry is one of the things that got me into writing. I think this book was written in a lot of ways that I always crave for romance books to be written. There is some spice in this, and I will say the thing that kept me from absolutely loving this book is our main character Lee, I don't know how to say it, is very insecure, which for most of the book I was actually relating to. I was like, no, I have these same thoughts, it's fine, because she's in this writing program and she thinks everyone is too cool and they don't like her. And there was some really good line in here about that, about how she was thinking poorly of other people and assuming that they were meaner than they actually were, which I really liked. But as the book progressed, there comes a time when she was self-destructing in a way that was like really hard to read, and that's when it kind of went from relatable, like everyone feels insecure sometimes, and especially more in places where you feel like you're unqualified, but this is like you're exploding all of your relationships because you're just assuming certain things. So I'm giving it 3.75 stars, and it would have easily been 4 stars if that hadn't been happening towards the end. But I will say there were tons of other characters in the book who knew she was being self-destructive and were calling her out on it. So I know that the author was doing it on purpose. It wasn't something that she wrote the main character as this super ignorant girl who didn't understand her own actions. Like, that was the point, but it was still a little bit painful to read. But I will definitely read whatever she comes out with next. I am very excited that she's writing books now, and a lot of the way that it was written, like I said, was how I crave a lot of romance books to be written in like a more literary fiction fashion. So I'm really happy that I read this, and I will pretty much always love when there's 2 writers in a book. And then because I was on that bachelorette trip and I didn't have any other books to read, I had my Kindle with me, and I have 7 Days in June on here by Tia Williams, which I've been meaning to read forever because, like I just said, this one is also 2 writers who have a past history and haven't talked in a while. Actually, these are like these same exact tropes, and I've seen people give this amazing reviews for years now, and I just have always forgotten to pick it up at the store, but I had it on my Kindle, so I started reading that again, and now I'm 44% of the way through it, and I'm really liking it so far. There are some flashback scenes, and I'm not loving the flashback scenes as much. Like, I really just want them to be in the present tense still, but hopefully I finish this today. And then I might also go to the bookstore because Carly Fortune's new book is out. And there was something else that oh yeah, I also want to get another book for a main channel video that I'm going to film soon. So we have a fun day ahead of us. Okay, it's like 2 hours later and I've been trying to read 7 Days in June. And I don't know if it's because I read the first 20% of this book at a different time and then the last 20% that I've read with like weeks and books apart, but my mind just keeps trailing off. And I also don't know if it's because I'm in the mood for summer books all of a sudden. So Carly Fortune's book is really speaking to me right now. Probably just just because I really like the cover, but I also just love, like, I really am craving like a lake romance right now. So I can't focus on 7 Days in June, but it's not the type of DNF where I'm not liking the book. It just feels like I'm so distracted I can't read this right now, but I feel like I'm really gonna like it. So I'm putting it down for now, I think. Even I don't really know what's going on, but I just got a little book mail from the queen herself, Lynn Painter. I think I know what this is. I think I saw this book for the first time today on Goodreads because I did not know she had a book coming out this July, I think. Oh, wait, no, I forgot. We DM'd about this. She sent me her middle grade book, which is so cute. It has sprayed edges and it's for like, I don't know what middle grade, if that means like elementary, middle school. I don't know what that like age rating necessarily means. Like Harry Potter was middle grade. I think it's 10 to 13 years old the characters are. Emma is determined to make middle school next level amazing. That's so cute. Dang, this is like a long book. She's so nice. I love her. That was not her adult romance book coming out in July. She's over there grinding. How is she making an adult romance, a YA romance, and also middle grade books? That is so cool. Well, thank you, Lynn, for this book. But I think that's where I'm going to end this vlog. We read 3 beautiful books. They look so cute together and I'm so excited for summery reads because my brain right now is like nothing sad. Oh, I don't think I updated. I was trying to read this. I was trying to listen to this and it was just so sad. I don't think I'm in the headspace for it right now. I'm in summer headspace right now, as you can tell, and like nothing is tearing me away from that. So I must end this vlog because I want to start a main channel video that might have to do with summer reads. So I will see you on there or on my Instagram, which has a very exciting announcement coming up. So I would definitely follow that or somewhere else on the internet. Bye.